Hello and welcome to Taboretum channel. Today we'll be designing a lid for a mug. This is a 400 milliliters mug from Decathlon, made out of titanium, pretty light. And a nice feature is that it can fit the VRS stove that is here in this nice little sock. Yeah, so we put it back, drop it in, then we drop a lighter, a huge one. Then we drop a canister, a gas canister, 100 milliliters, and it fits. How nice. But there's no lid. Why there's no lid? Well, Decathlon didn't think about it, but I did. So here you can see a nice 3D printed, super tiny, super light lid that makes this a compact travel cooking kit that can fit in your backpack. Nothing can get lost in the dark realm, and it's super cool. Now let's use my coffee scale. Let's turn it on. So we can see the whole thing is 300 grams with everything basically. And the lid itself is a tiny 9 grams extra. We will basically need two dimensions. One would be the diameter, because our lid is getting inside, and we can say it is 91.6-ish. Yeah, and we need to make it snug. And we also want to know the radius of this lip that we have here, and it is around 3 millimeters, so the radius is 1.6. Okay, let's get to FreeCAD and let's design the thing. Okay, as you can see, we are at FreeCAD 1.1.1. We start with a new file, we create new body, and all the key presses that I'm gonna do will be visible at the bottom here. And we start with a sketch. As we are going to design the lid that will lay flat on the XY axis, I will select the XZ axis for the sketch, and then I will revolve. So I go for XZ, and I'm going to use these polyline that you can use M key to switch to different element for different nodes. Okay, so let's start from the beginning of the coordinate system. Let's make it the bottom, then we press M for cycle, and we want a curve. Actually, we will want a different curve that's not going to be tangent over here, but let's start with something. Then we're going to have another curve, another one, different direction. Then we go up, back to the axis, horizontal line, and back to the starting point. So that's roughly the shape. We want to make this part vertical, so we press V. Now we want these two arcs to be equal, so we press E for that, equal. And you remember, because this part is going to go, because this is upside down, right? This part is going to go into our mug. So this is going to touch the rim, the circle rim. So we remember that these two should actually, well, one of the, we will only select one of this, and we press D for dimension. And you can see it's 9 millimeters, but the actual rim was, the diameter of it was 3 millimeters. So this arc should be half of it, which is 1.5 millimeter, which is pretty tiny thing. And yeah, what else? We want also to make fix this whole thing. So we can say that we want this to be 60 degrees. So this arc will be pretty much fixed. Then I've said that we don't want this element to be actually tangent here. escape. Why? Because if we're going to print, this slope will be way too flat, right? So we'll need a lot of supports here. So we are not going to do that. So you just select these constraint, these one. Whoops, I can't. The one that is for the, I don't know why I can't select these, but let's find it over here. That's wrong. Here it is, and we just delete it. Yeah. So now we can move this point. Well, we need first to connect the two, because we deleted the tangency and we also deleted the connection. So we select the two and we press C for connect. And now if we grab the center of the arc, we can move it around, right? So let's add some dimensions here. So I'd like these to go into our mark. I press D, 7 millimeters. Okay. And we measure the diameter of the whole thing as 91.6, so half of it will be 45.8. So we make these 45.8 millimeters, and you see that we just things started to move around. So we need to move this element to the left again. And also we need this dimension. Let's make it 44, nice number. And the whole thing here, probably, well, it needs some space because we want to elevate it a bit, so there's a bit more space in the mark. So we'll make it 22.5. Why not? And now the sketch should be saying us that we have only 1 degree of freedom, which is this arc, right? Because we can decide how let's say bulky the thing is. And honestly, let's just make it nice and let's just fix it like 20. Let's see. Yeah. And we now have fully constrained sketch. That will become our lead. Let's close the sketch. And what we are going to do now, we're going to revolve it. And it guessed actually that this axis is the z-axis is the nice one. And that's basically it. We click OK. And here we have our lead. The missing element that the element that I would like to add are some kind of grooves around it. So you've seen in the print, the final one, that there are some grooves. So let's figure out how to make them. And basically what we are going to do, we are going to subtract a sphere. Nothing super fancy. We want to attach this sphere somewhere, or not, but let's try to attach it, let's say here. And now we want to make it bigger, definitely. I don't know, let's make it 20. And now we can move it around. So we say, hey, we move it, well, not there, we move it up. We move it also out. It's probably now this dimension, more up. And ish, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe not, maybe even bigger. We can make it 25. Let's make it 22, 25, maybe it will be too much. Let's stick with the 21 and let's move it a bit more up in the Z direction. Yeah, let's do it. We press O key and we have this nice, I think it's a bit too big. So we can always get back. Panels, model. Yeah, this is the one that we got lost, the model panel. We select our sphere and we make it a bit smaller. Yeah, let's make it 20 and make it visible. Okay, and now what we do, we want a few of those. So we select the sphere and make it, use this polar pattern button here, and we say, let's make 5 of these. Okay, and here it is. Okay, so let's take it to the slicer and see how it looks. So what I do, I'm gonna export this thing, and you see there's no inside, right? If you want to have a model that you don't need to deal with in slicer, you can always select this face and say, hey, I want thickness. So it's gonna make it like 1 millimeter inside, and you can see you have the whole thing that you can print, and you can decide what's the thickness of it. The second option you have is you can keep it as the solid, and then inside the slicer, let the slicer know that you want just perimeters and no top layers. And that's what I usually do. So I would export this thing, because then I can decide later, right? If I decide now the thickness, then it is decided in the model. If I decide in slicing process, that then I can adjust to the for example, the width of my nozzle, right? I can do it differently if I have 0.8 nozzle, 0.4 or whatever. So let's export and let's get to the slicer. Yeah, and you can see it ended up on the wrong face, because we want actually to print it on this size. So let's just flip it. Yeah. And now if you want to make it hollow inside, we can, well, I can show you that. We have the, if we slice now, we will have the infill and a top layer, and we just go to the print settings and say, hey, no infill whatsoever, like even 1 perimeter, and no top layers, 0. Yeah. Slice now, and you can see we end up with the thing being a single layer element. And honestly, you can also use a vase mode, right? Because you can see that each slice is a complete closed loop. So I already have the spiral mode. So here you have spiral with 1 millimeter wall, and we slice, and you can see it will also work, right? Yeah, you can see that here we see some gaps. So maybe the angle is too high, so we may consider moving these cutouts a bit. But it's 41 minutes print, so let's get to the printer and see how it gets, how it works. And here it is. So now we are ready to go outdoors and test the whole thing. Thanks for watching, and happy printing and happy camping. Bye bye.